Right, well, good. Reece, hello.
Lewis, thanks for having me on, my man.
No, don't worry about it, mate. So we're just having a bit of a catch up before we started recording. It's been a while. It's been a while reminiscing. First question for you. I want to go straight in because I've seen it recently on your Instagram. How the fuck do you get in Forbes?
Not wasting no time. Well, I mean, the truthful answer is I hired a PR agency, and I basically just said, look, for me at the moment, I want to get into media. And I just kind of want to get my name out there in a little bit of a different light. At the time we was working with a lot of high performers as well. So it's kind of like having that level of authority, but also just that little bit of media just to kind of try and stand out a bit. So I was kind of expecting, and the woman said, I'll be honest with you, like to begin where you've got no publications, you're probably going to get something great, but like an independent or a Daily Mail or something. Like we'll start there and then kind of build your way up, because Forbes was always in the back of my mind. So she kind of came back. She said, look, we pitch your case, showed your website, showed your social media handles to X amount of people. This don't usually happen, but Forbes have come back and said they're willing to feature yourself in an article. And I thought, that's brilliant. And she basically said to usually to get into Forbes, you'd have to have a couple of publications behind you for them to actually take your application serious, if you will. So she came back. She's like, do you want to do Forbes? I went, go on in if we have to. So if we have to.
That's mad. I've only ever worked with something like that once, and they wanted to talk to me about my heart surgery and overcoming the weight loss that I did and all that sort of stuff. And they were like, and then we'll obviously mention your coaching and this and that and this and that. And then it ended up being a bit of a nightmare. So they didn't mention the coaching at all, at all. They put it in the female bit of the Daily Mail, which is obviously like the women's column in the Daily Mail. Like, and it was like man reverses heart condition, which is not true. Reverses heart condition by losing 8 stone or something like that. And I was like, well, it was 10, but whatever, cool. So I only ever had one run in, but it didn't work out so well for me. But I think that's, to be fair, I'm glad that I asked that question first then, because what I do want to talk to you about, as I've just mentioned before we started recording, is you have for quite a significant period of time worked with this whole high performer thing, right?
Yeah.
And that sort of move is hiring a PR agency to get you in publications, to build your authority, to take yourselves so people start taking you even more seriously. That's very much a high performer move, in my opinion. So going right back then, I just want to focus on your online coaching. I know that you did the in-person, and I know that the transition and all that sort of stuff. As soon as you started online coaching, were you straight away like, right, this is who I want to work with? Or at the start, was it just like, take everything, work with anybody?
Oh, everything and everybody. At the start, I didn't have a fucking Scooby. It was like, wait, you want to pay me to coach you from my laptop? Really? All right then. Fucking like, coming from like a PT background, going online, it's like, it blew my mind that people were paying me to coach them from my laptop, like in my boxes in my bedroom. Are you joking? So like at the beginning, it was like, fuck yeah, I'll take anyone who will come to me. But you soon come to that realization where if you talk to everybody, nobody kind of listens, right? So that's obviously when we started to niche down a little bit to the high performance market. And I mean, the reason we kind of done it wasn't like I thought, oh, high performance, they must have money, so I'm going to target those guys. It was actually more so from personal experience, because I kind of found myself, I was a business owner that just went so heavy on my business that when I neglected my health, I ended up passing out, went to A&E. I was burnt a candle at both ends. I was just so fucked. Like I had no energy, no confidence. And I just felt like I was spiraling out of control slowly but surely. So I kind of realized, and that's where I had my first coach as well at that point. And when I started to really focus on my health and my own performance from like working out and my health and just really optimizing me as a person, little things like sleep and these type of things, my business just rocketed significantly. And the only underlying factor that stood out for me was I looked after myself, my business took off. There must be other people that are in this kind of boat.
Yeah, I remember when I first started following you, to be fair, quite a few years ago now, you were going through that at the time, and you were essentially walking the walk, and you were being quite public about it in your own content, and you did the shoots and all that sort of stuff. And that's where we saw you kind of like pivot and really, really lean into that. I think something that I didn't know until I got to know you a little bit more is you're younger than your years, if that makes sense. Like you're quite far ahead when it comes to like your personal development and you being able to take things seriously. I thought you were maybe around my age, maybe a little bit younger. And then when I found out that, how old are you now?
Just turned 25.
So you were taking shit real serious. We've known each other maybe 4-5 years now. So you're taking shit serious from a young age. Do you think that this is a little bit of a tangent because it's only just dawned on me? How much of that do you think has got to do with your football background?
If I'm honest, all of it. I mean, usually people think I'm older because my hairline's scrambling, but I'll take the compliment.
Mine was gone by 22.
I'm thinking about shaving it off if weren't precise me is. But I would say it's all from football. I've been a product of coaching since I was a kid. Like football's always been like you've always had almost like a mentor in your corner from an athlete perspective. So I would say it's difficult because yes, I would also say it's a large part of it was because of my background in football, but I would also say a large part of it was a chip on my shoulder. I always thought I should have been a professional footballer. I thought I deserved to. I thought I was good enough, but it never happened. Well, I clearly wasn't. It didn't happen. But I almost had a bit of a chip on my shoulder and thought, "Fuck you, let me, watch me do something else, and like I'll make this whole business thing work." So I think maybe it's a mixture of the two.
Am I right in thinking? Have you got is it like a family member or something who is really, really good?
Yeah, better than me. Yeah, my little brother he's professional.
There you go. Yeah. So I wonder how much of it came from that as well. Then just being like, for fuck's sake.
You know what? I'm kind of living my football aspirations through him anyway. So but you know what? In hindsight, like I think hindsight's a beautiful thing because for me, I'm so fucking happy I didn't make it because I feel like this is where I'm meant to be. I feel like business for me is and the whole coaching game. I feel like this is me, and the butterflies I get through coaching and business and transformation. It doubles what I used to get scoring a goal, walking out to a big game. So like, I think in hindsight, it all kind of happened for a reason. I think.
Do you know what? That's exactly why I'm leaning into this public speaking thing is that obviously since I could no longer play American football because of my heart, I never used to get the I'll be completely honest. I never used to get pre-game nerves, even in the big games. It was the excitement and it feels the same, right? It's the butterflies, it's the tingle, it's all of that sort of stuff. But I think just because I've been doing it so long, I'd managed to realign it to thinking, right, I'm excited, I'm not nervous. Like I'm not nervous because I've done the work. And I lost that when I obviously had to stop playing sport. And I remember the first time I did a talk before it, I was like, holy fuck, it's back. Get in. Get in. And that's why I love it now. I absolutely love it. I don't know. There's probably a combination of being stood in front of a group of people, just like when I used to captain the team and center of attention and all that sort of shit. There's probably some, I don't know. But yeah.
But I think also when you kind of look up at a load of people and you just see so many people immersed in your story, taking notes and just, you can almost just see like, it just looks like the room full of people just have such straight faces. They're not moving and not blinking because they're just so brought into what you're saying as well. Like it's a fucking hell of a feeling.
It is, and that's obviously something that you've built into your service is the in-person events that you do quite frequently. So we'll come on to that soon. So you realise you start taking your own health more seriously, prioritising yourself, your business grows. How do you then turn that from something that you've lived, as in your experience, into, right, now I need to package this up, find these people, target them, sell it to them, build something around them? What are the next steps at that point when you realise this is the thing? What do you do then?
Say the truth, it wasn't like it was calculated, but it wasn't like I woke up the next morning and thought, right, I'm just going to work with high performance. It's like, I just started telling my story. I'm just saying, this was me in COVID. This is what happened to me and this is where I'm at now. And all of a sudden it just started to resonate naturally. It was kind of like a natural process. More people just started to slowly resonate with, oh shit, like I'm kind of similar. Like I'm really driven in my career. And I think where, obviously, especially at the time I was a little bit younger, there was a lot of people who were young but ambitious. Right. So it's kind of like seeing what I might be doing and then kind of relating to the fact that they're also quite ambitious. It's like, well, if I can get in great shape, but also develop in my career and also, push things forward in my life and also feel more inspired by a group full of high performers, like it's a double whammy. It's a win-win for me. So I think I kind of almost felt like I fell into it a little bit more naturally. I just started telling my story and people resonated. And when more people resonated, I started to go, okay, cool. A lot more people resonate with my story there. The common theme is they're quite high performing as well. So I'm going to go all in and start to talk more specifically in my content, in my messaging about this world of kind of transformation / performance.
I know I see a lot of coaches and I speak to a lot of coaches. Obviously with what I'm doing now, it's just coaches, right? So yeah. A lot of coaches struggle, I think, if they've not got that thing or that story or their own experience or something to actually like pull upon. And you can see through it a mile off. And this is not this is, I don't want it to sound like I'm slagging coaches off or anything, because they'll have been told to do this by a business mentor or whatever, post a certain type of content, say a certain type of thing. They'll be following almost like a template, I guess.
Yeah.
But you can see through it, I think, if they don't actually have that thing. Like, again, when my business really accelerated, we knew each other at this point. It's after I'd been through all the weight loss. I'd got it all off. I'd kept it all off. I'd worked on the relationship with food. And I just started talking about it.
100%.
But I was able to talk about it from a place of, well, I've been there. I've got the fucking... I said this to Maria the other day. I've still got one old 5XL t-shirt. I was like, I've been there. I've got the 5XL t-shirt. I've got the XL t-shirt.
You should frame it up and put it on the wall. I mean, no banner. It's a fucking good reminder just to see where it came from.
Yeah, I've saved a few old items of clothing. Like there's a pair of Adidas tracksuit bottoms somewhere that I could probably get in twice now. It's fucking mad. But the point I'm getting at, and again, same as you, I do think that coaches, if they're struggling, they need to get out there and do something. And that's easier said than done. But they need to actually get out there and do something, not go, oh, I'm just going to pluck this type of person out of the hat to work with because, like you said earlier, they might be easy to sell to or they're going through a problem. Well, if you don't relate to or haven't been through that problem, you're working from a fucking disadvantage.
I think experience is the most valuable thing in business as well. I know we touched on it just before we started recording, but I done my shoot last year and I done a shoot to get in stupidly good shape, not because I wanted to be in stupidly good shape. I wanted the experience of pushing my body to the absolute limit. Let me try something I've never experienced before and just see what comes of it. I could have come away from that experience and gone, I want to coach people purely for photo shoots, for fucking want to step on stage or some shit. I realized I don't like that world as much as I thought I might, because I went through the experience. I could almost rule out that I love to get people into photo shoot condition, but I don't want that to be the whole premise around my brand, because the last 6 weeks I did not enjoy the experience. So I don't want to put other people through an experience they might not enjoy, but I learned through experience.
I imagine it's also, well, I don't imagine, I've been there. I think with that stuff as well, if you're trying to get insane lean for a photo shoot, oiled up, tanned, all that sort of stuff, there's a point where it's the diminishing returns, right? It's like, this is productive, this is productive, this is productive. Yeah. Oh shit, now it's about to get nasty. Now my productivity, my energy, my business is going to take a hit. And at that point, it's like, well, that's no longer aligned with what you're trying to do.
100%. And do you know what? I still say it's the best thing I've ever done. And I'm so glad I've done it. But what I wouldn't want to do is be the coach who puts people through photo shoots 4, 5, 6 times over. I've done it. I've got the stripes. I've got the experience. And I think for myself, it helped me learn that I could be more resilient than I thought. I could have more discipline than I thought. I could take my body to further extremes than I ever believed I could. So on the back end of that, I've got more evidence that I can achieve things more than I thought that was possible from both a physique and a mindset perspective. So I'm so freaking happy I've done it. I ain't doing it again though.
Yeah. It's just like you said, it's another chapter of the story, right? It's more stuff to talk about. It's another way to relate with people. So you mentioned that people that you first started attracting just through talking about it and being yourself were younger, ambitious people just like yourself. At what point then did you start? Because it got to the point where you were working with people way older than you, who, again, way higher up the tree, as it were, in business and income and responsibility. And was there a transition there? Or again, did it just kind of happen naturally because of the stuff you were doing?
Very naturally. I mean, it's quite funny. I would say about 70% of our coaching base at the moment is women over 30. A lot of the time people go, I didn't specifically go, I am now a coach who works with da-da-da. Naturally, people just started to resonate with the words I was saying, the content I was pushing. So then I kind of, I think as a business owner, this is why tracking data is so freaking important. I don't want to go down a boring tangent for those listening, but
no, do. I think, and again, I'm actually in the middle. Before I start recording this, I'm in the middle of writing an email that's going out actually about tracking data inside your business, but more from a fulfillment point of view. So more from adherence and churn and stuff like that. Obviously, I do think yes, it is boring, but massively necessary.
Absolutely. So I mean, what I do is I try to listen to data over emotion a lot of the time. And a lot of the time, from an emotional or maybe somewhat logistical perspective, I'm thinking, work with high performance. That was you. But then the data is telling me, actually, your content is resonating more with women. Your bigger transformations and your highest success rate tends to be women. a large proportion of them are over 30. The success stories are bigger, and the buzz I get from somebody who's actually getting a result on that kind of scale from that perspective is higher. So from both a business perspective and looking at the data, it made sense. Then kind of, you know, scraping the data even further, looking into my insights. Average age between 35 and 40. Right, okay. Average gender, 73% women. Right? This time last year, it was probably about 85% men. So my audience on social media has gone from 85% men to now 70 or some 78% women.
I wonder how much of that is a coincidence with you posting a load of topless photos doing your photo shoot.
But you know what though? It was actually the reverse. That got me so much more men, believe it or not. It's actually more so with when we started taking the route of paid media. A lot of the paid channels we were using brought in a hell of a lot more women. And they were resonating more with our trainings. If I was to put out certain webinars and trainings, every single person who downloaded it tend to just go from, you know, 50-50 between male and female to just going 60-40, 70-30. And all of a sudden, just women were resonating with everything we're doing. So it was more data and more natural when we make changes within the business, as opposed to just thinking, oh, you know, that person seems to do well with high performance, so I'm going to go do it. It might work. Well, I'll just do it. It's kind of like just looking at the data, looking at what's naturally kind of working and going, right, let me just try and double down here. Could be a mistake, but at least I learned a lesson.
So we are going to come back to that. I want to talk a little bit more about this whole, you see people all the time, right? I work with busy professionals. Of course you do. Sick. Everybody's busy and everybody's got a job, or most people are busy and most people got jobs. You actually did it. You built a service around busy professionals. Something that I see a lot of people doing as well, is coaches doing as well, is almost building their service based off maybe coaching that they've received or what they think coaching should be. Sometimes it's weekly check-in, monthly call, that's it. Sometimes like whatever, right? Yeah. How do you, so you've then got the client base that are busy, professional, high performer, CEO, whatever you want to kind of like, however you want to identify them, right? At that point, you then started to build your service for those people because you were you had them in the business, you were working with them, you've got the experience. Let's talk about that a little bit, because again, this whole idea of needing a niche and all stuff like that, I get it. I do get it. I think it's beneficial for this very reason, because you can then start tailoring what you do to those people. So again, was that just a natural thing that you did? I know what I did with Body and Brain. I had a list on my phone. If I got asked a question literally twice, I was like, right, I'm going to create something around it.
100%. Yeah.
That was my method.
Those people asking a question, there's going to be hundreds of others that have the same question in their mind. Absolutely.
So how did that actually look inside of your business? Because again, coaches just getting started out might have a coaching platform and that's it, right? They might have an app, a software.
Yeah, I mean, it's an interesting question because we kind of started to create a business model called the Business Athlete, and we was going to coach instead of just entrepreneurs, we was going to coach business owners. And if I'm honest, the reason we didn't go, like we went all in on it for a period of time. And the reason we peeled back on it ever so slightly was obviously looking at the data and stuff as well. But I just kind of found that for me, it was like almost like this big buzzword, this kind of cool niche. It was like, oh yeah, I want to work with business owners. It sounds cool. Like, and I almost took a step back and looked at the data, and I kind of thought to myself, am I going down this route because I'm a business owner and I think this whole world's really cool? Or am I going down this route because this is where I would have the expertise to help people out the most? And that's when I kind of came to the realization that this whole busy professional world is a world I'm stepping into because I think it's cool, not because I think I have the best program in this area, in this niche. Because in my opinion, when you're looking at serious, like helping busy professionals, like it's going down the route of, okay, if we're fully optimizing your cognitive performance, like how can we take deep dive into all of these intricate details of blood types and fucking this and that and this and that. And it's like, that world was like interesting, but for me, I didn't want to go down that huge rabbit hole. My bread and butter is body transformation and, you know, going down the in-depth route of productivity and cognitive performance. Again, I thought it was a cool subject. I wouldn't say that's where my absolute expertise lied. So I think that's when I just almost had to have a stern word to myself and say, are you going down this route for the right reasons? Or are you doing it because it's cool and you want to say you coach business owners so you can be around them? Or is this where you feel like you'll thrive?
One thing I noticed about you, and again, like we said, from a very, very young age, is you have always been almost obsessed with the business side of things as well as the coaching side of things. And I think that's one of the reasons, well, it's definitely one of the reasons why you've grown the business that you have now. I told you I was going to ask about this because I think it's a funny story, but I also think there's a good message behind it. So you once applied to join a mentorship where you basically had to prove that you were earning a certain amount on a monthly basis to join, right? Is this, stop me if I'm getting this wrong.
Yeah. So, so basically, the mentorship I was in, like, you could just join, but they had an advanced group, which is you basically get in the room of the top dogs, and you almost had to prove that you're making enough money to be sitting in this room, because what they would talk about is very high level business, and it's kind of like if you're not at nowhere near that point, what we're talking about in here is just going to sidetrack you. So there's no point being in here. So it was a normal mentorship I was a part of, but you had to prove you're making a certain amount to be within the higher tier group.
So what did you do to get in that room?
Yeah, well, I mean, at the time, this was right after COVID, and I just wanted to be in the room so bad. I wanted to see how business is done on a new level. So I'm pretty sure I charged my card like 3 or 4 times just to get the Stripe screenshot to say, let me get in this fucking room now. Like I need to see how it's done on a different level. So I remember just going, right, what's going to get us fucking, if I was going to do that on Photoshop, I wanted to be in that room. So, I'm thinking, I can't even remember how I done it. It might have just been that I either charged my own card or I fucking took a screenshot, or I can't remember how I done it, but I just thought I need to be inside this, so I need to see what they're talking about.
I think it is funny, and I speak about. I tell people this. I tell people about this. I don't tell them it's you, but if they're watching this podcast, they know. I often say I know somebody that quite literally, and I think at the time I remember you telling me it wasn't you having to charge your card a couple of grand. Like it wasn't I know somebody that was
earning good dough to be in this group.
Yeah,
so to do a good couple of grand to get in there.
In it, and it's completely understandable. And I said, look, he was just short, and he was paying his Stripe a couple of grand at a time, taking the hit on the Stripe fees, taking the hit on the tax and everything, for the reason that getting in this room surrounded by these people, becoming the small fish in the big pond, he knew what benefit it would have. And that's the sort of mentality. If you really want to push things forward, and again, I don't really talk about business at all anymore. Fulfillment's my bag, like client customer service is my bag. That's what I love. 100%. But I think there is some people might listen to that and go, fucking idiot. And I'm like, nah, fair fucking play. You want to get into that room, you do what needs to be done. At that point then, were you out of your depth, or was it like sink or swim? Well, I guess it was sink or swim.
I was out of my depth. I mean, don't get me wrong. Like, I was only just short of the requirements to get in.
Yeah, so, it wasn't much. I remember it wasn't much.
I think it was like 2 or 3K. Like, you had to basically show 3 months recurring. So like 3 months in a row, you had to show that you have made this number. Now, I think I was like 2 or 3K off. Like, it wasn't nothing big. So I thought, fucking, if I'm just touching and flirting with it, kept me in there. I want to see what's inside. I was definitely at my depth, but I'm really glad I'd done it. And at the time, I was learning a lot of things that wasn't necessarily applicable to me now, but will be applicable when I get past my next 3 bottlenecks. Because these guys in the room they were doing silly numbers. Like,
that's tough, isn't it? That skill there of knowing this is not for right now, but it's something that I want to need. And so many people come to events, listen to podcasts, listen to audiobooks, all that sort of shit, and get almost like information overload and get into that kind of like, they've got so much choice that they don't do anything with it.
Yeah, 100%.
Being able to identify what you need to do now to take whether it is your coaching or your business or something completely different to the next level is tough. And again, that all comes from data. So I know it is boring, but if you look at the data more often than not, it will tell you what you need to do next. If you're dealing with clients and your retention is 4 fucking months, you don't need to focus on leads through the door, mate. You need to focus on how can I keep people for longer? How can I get better results? If only 60% of your client base are checking in on a weekly basis, you need to focus on what you can do there, not worrying about like paid ads or anything like that. It's the thing that's like, again, kind of like you mentioned earlier, I've got a chip on my shoulder at the minute. So I'm talking to a lot of people that are going, I just need more leads. And I'm like, how long do they stay? 5 months. I'm like, you don't need more leads.
You don't need more leads. No, and that's another reason why we started to go into the I suppose you could call it niche, but the kind of people working for the moment. The data was those type of people were staying for 14 months. our retention for that caliber of person was 14 months. So again, I kind of thought from a retention perspective, like retention is, I would say, the stability of a business. Your lifetime value of a customer is the stability of a business. If you're always chasing the next client, you're gonna run out of steam at some point, right? Like if you can keep, it's so much easier to keep a client than to get a client, right? So not only that, when you keep a client, that one can turn into 10 very easily if you've got the right ways of incentivizing renewals. But effectively, that's nothing we looked at. We looked at retention. That kind of road person was in the program for an average 14 months. So we thought, why the hell are we not going all in here? As opposed to the busy professional that I found almost, maybe my program wasn't set up in the perfect way, but it was almost just kind of like a revolving door. They're in, they get what they need, they're out. And I think that's maybe the nature of a business owner and of a business person, of a high performer. Let me get in, let me get what I need, let me get out.
Yeah.
Community's cool. I ain't got time for it. It's like, that's what I kind of found from that community. So when I'm working with people now, community's fucking everything. Like there's 10, 15 posts every day from people, women in there going, I've just smashed the PV. And I love that. Like it gives me like a bubbly feeling inside. I get fucking goosebumps, and that's massive. It's fucking massive.
So I'm glad you just mentioned it, because I had one more question about the whole busy professional, the niche that you were working with, that you're transitioning away from. Something that you do really well, or at least you would be led to believe this by the photos that you post and stuff, are the events. So even when you were working with the busy people, you were still doing that fairly well. Maybe not all of them were taking it up, but your events that you were doing, you've got a name from them, I can't remember what you call them, but every single time there's not a small amount of people at those events. They're all there, they're all taking part, they're all learning, they're all training. Some of them are doing photo shoots. I think community is something that coaches across the board don't do as well as they could or should. And I don't think the people understand the power of it for your business in creating that community. It got to the point with Body and Brain where I quite literally had people say to me, I've got what I need from it. I want to stay so I can be a part of the group.
Absolutely.
I was like, sick. Right, well, let's do that then. And obviously I ended up creating like a back-end program type thing for those people for that very reason. How do you go about, because it's tough at first, creating a community at first, when you first get that chat and it's fucking tumbleweed. Like nobody's talking, how do you go about like getting that thing off the ground and nurturing it?
Yeah, I mean, tangibly, with podcasts, I like to try and give as much tangible advice. It's not just almost like a mind masturbation, but actually something they can go, actually, let me go and use this and see if it works. So something we done recently is we went onto the school platform. You've probably seen the ads everywhere. It's fucking brilliant.
I'm using it for Amplifier, mate. It's fucking fantastic.
Brilliant. So we went onto that, and to answer your question more specifically, that's been amazing for us, but to answer your question more specifically, it's incentivizing it. So what I would do is, like there'll be prizes. The first place of person who adds post in the group the most wins. Like I think it's like a £75 Gymshark voucher. Second place 50, third place 25. So people are incentivized to do it that way. If someone sends me a message or sends one of my coaches a message going, just hit 3 PBs, absolutely buzzing. That's amazing. Put it in the school group. Everyone else is going to be so inspired by this. So it's like, just put it in the school group because I just want to make it look cool. It's like everyone's going to be inspired by what you've just sent me. Put it in the school group. Right. And then it's because no one wants to be the only one. So what I used to do back in the days, I used to plant people within my communities. So I used to get like, I don't know, my missus stepmom or my fucking ex-client who's leaving, but who was good in the group, just saying, look, I'll let you keep control of the app. All I need is 2 posts a week inside the community group. And then you can keep control of the app. So when I was trying to get it off the ground, it's like, let me just do these things, like give you control of the app, but in return, you give me community basis. If someone messaged me, go and put that in the community. If I'm wanting people to engage, let me incentivize it and give them prizes. And then all of a sudden, 3 or 4 or 5 people start doing it. And then other people going, it's almost like it's okay to do it. Like other people doing it, I'm not like a weird one who's just posting in a dead group. So, okay, I'll get involved. So I find now, since we moved from Facebook to school and I've just put a big emphasis on community, everyone who was in the other group who never posted are all posting now because they're not the only one doing it.
Yeah, I think the other thing as well that I'd add to that, which I certainly had to do, is you've got to drive it for a while. You've got to be the one posting, trying to start conversations, replying to people, doing daft stuff. Like, mate, it got to the point where I was literally trying anything. And do you know what worked for me? It was 2 things. It was on a Friday, asking people how their week had gone, but they could only reply with a GIF.
Sick.
right? So
Yeah.
just stupid shit. And then every now and then it would just be, right, everybody post a picture of your pets. And if you don't have a pet, post a picture of your mate's pet.
Yeah.
And I just took a picture of Rogan. Rogue got more engagement in that group than anything that I ever did that was relevant to coaching, I'm telling you.
100%. But those things are massive though. Like we would do it every week. Like these ones are a bit more specific. The dog ones are brilliant because they get engagement and everyone gets involved. But like every Monday we'll do Power Play Monday. So it's like post a picture of your first power move of the week. It could be a picture of your fucking big toe going for a walk. I don't care. Just put it in there. Right. Yeah. So then, we'll do Wednesday win walk. So on Wednesdays, post your wins. Friday fakeaways, post a fakeaway. So we're always doing something to engage it. But I would always be the first person commenting under my own post. If I'm doing Power Play Monday, I'm telling you my Power Play. If I'm doing Wednesday wins, I'm telling you my Wednesday win. If I'm doing Friday fakeaway, I'm giving you a fakeaway as well. Like it's almost like you can't hit and hope. You've got to do the groundwork. I'd put like a gay selfie in the fucking group. Just hit a couple PBs, buzzing. Of course I'm buzzing, but I'll just put it in a group. Now other people see me kind of in there with them. Like, because a lot of people look at coaches and they feel like, I just can't relate to this guy. You're kind of going in there and you're showing you're relatable, you're showing you're getting involved. Other people feel like they're in a safe space to do it as well. And like you said, a lot of time it is just personal shit. Like I've done one of my, I don't have dogs. I went to my parents' place and I had a picture of my parents' dog. And I said, should I put the Apple Watch on them to get my steps up low? Just put it in a group. Like it's not like super valuable, but people going, oh, super cute. What is it? Labrador. Like, it just incentivizes people to just be friends in the groups. If you can create cliques and friends in a group, you're not going to create strong friendship groups just from everyone going PBs. Like it's cool, but no one's going to go, oh, he's a cool guy because he's got PBs. They're going to go, fucking hell, that's the guy that's got the cute little chow chow, or that's the guy that that supports Arsenal. I'm a fucking Aston Villa fan. Who see the weekend? Like that's how you're going to create cliques inside communities, and that's something we've tried to put an emphasis on, and why live events are good as well.
So I think this is the good transition into the second thing that I want to talk about now, which is changing niche, because it's not easy to do. I do think when the niche that you're moving into, I think you'll see, again, you might have already seen it, that'll start to accelerate even more, because the people that you're about to start working with will have more in common with each other than the whole busy 100%. Professional. Because again, busy professional can mean anything. High flyers, high performers can mean anything, right? You can be a business owner in a million different types of business. So explain now, you've mentioned it already, but where are you moving now with the niche?
So I wouldn't say we're necessarily moving like everything's going towards just this person, but we're just slowly talking about certain messaging and kind of crafting our, I suppose, deliverables surrounding women over 30. And a lot of people go, oh, you can't relate to women over 30. It's like, yeah, but my fucking results can. I get great results with them. They fucking transform and they stay for a long time. Data, like, so I think a lot of people do almost think I need to be this person. And I've always been an advocate, and I'll hold my hands up to this as well. I've always said your niche should be you 5 years ago. And I still, to a degree, believe that. But again, when I just looked at all of our data, our best transformations, women over 30. Our longest stayers, women over 30. So then I just kind of started to change my messaging, and I talk now more about hormones, metabolism, and so forth, as opposed to just fucking abs and biceps.
I do agree. I think for me, it's three things. I think you either need to have been that person and been through that thing. I think, or you need a high level of education around that specific area. Like one of the best coaches that I know that works with menopausal women, so women over a certain age, is a 27 maybe year old bloke. Yeah. Highly educated, gone out of his way to learn all that stuff. Has he ever been through it? Well, obviously not. No. Yeah. And then the third thing is evidence and experience that you can actually work with those people. Yeah, 100%. If you can go out of your way, maybe you personally don't have the lived experience of a woman over 30, but if you can educate yourself in things like female health, in things like perimenopause and whatever that you're going to need to know to kind of specialize in that, and then you've got the evidence that you can actually get the job done, I think at that point, it don't fucking matter if you've got the lived experience.
Yeah, 100%. And like we pulled out the stops for it as well. We brought in female coaches. We've brought in women's health specialists to do webinars and stuff. So a realization for me is I sat down, I had a conversation with a very good friend of mine. He's from Ireland, and he's got a very juggernaut multi-7-figure business. And he works with menopausal ladies. And he was just kind of showing me the ins and outs of everything that they do. And I was like, this looks really cool. Like your community, like they go, like for instance, when I would do a live event, like his kind of almost community get together is they'll go skydiving with a bunch of menopausal ladies. I thought that's fucking cool.
Oh shit.
So like, I look like little things like that. I just kind of thought, let me just test the waters and just kind of see what it's like. And it's not like we're only working with menopause, like women of day. Like we do still naturally attract a lot of lads, and we still do coach quite a lot of coaches as well who come in too. So we coach a lot of coaches that I usually take on myself, and then obviously others would work with our coaches on the team. But it's just, I found community and just the results as well. But like for me, it is the community, man. Like I love having a strong community within my team, and I think this bracket of people come into our program and they don't want to leave because the community is so fucking strong. They love the live events. Like we have people travel from other countries to come to our live events, and that still blows my mind. Wait, you're getting on a plane to come to my event? What the fuck? Are you really? Yeah. That's so cool. Let me take you out dinner, mate. That's it. Like, you know, little things like that is it kind of highlighted it for me.
So the upsides you've obviously just touched on. There are, and again, there'll be people, and I know them, and you probably know loads of coaches that have gone through this, I need to change my niche. Maybe it's a desperation thing. Maybe the current niche is not working. You're making this change. And like you said, you're not ruling out other people. It's just the messaging. It's just the content that you're putting out and the deliverables as well. So you're not in that place of desperation where you're like, I need to change my niche. My current one isn't working. A lot of coaches are in that place. And again, I know because I have conversations, and there'll be some of them definitely watching this that are talking to me at this moment about this very thing, right? There are downsides to doing it.
Of course.
There are downsides to doing it, right? And again, because you're not completely almost like tearing the plaster off and going in one direction, I think people need to realize that if you've got, you talked about data, right? If you were to have made this change when you had 75% male followers aged between 25 to 35, I imagine it would be a completely different story than you now doing it that you've got 75% female followers, because you don't have to change that audience. What tips would you give to people that are thinking about changing their niche before they start changing the bio and changing the profile picture and doing everything?
If I'm honest, and maybe it's a controversial opinion, but I think people that thinking their niche isn't working, I don't think the problem is their niche as such. I think the problem is maybe they haven't nailed their behind the scenes system with their lead generation. Maybe they haven't nailed their community. Maybe they haven't nailed their retention. I think the easiest thing to do is, business ain't growing. The problem's the niche. Like, I think it's just I think it's like almost like a cop out. It's easy to leave. That niche is my problem. I should fucking change my niche. Oh no, that niche ain't working. It's still a niche problem. I just go and change it to that niche. And all of a sudden you're jumping through niches like fucking a single woman through Tinder, and like you're never getting anywhere, right? So like for me, I think it's almost like if you're looking to actively change who you're targeting, sit down and don't just go wake up one morning, business ain't working, cool, change niche, I'm going to give that a go. It's like, if you're going to do this thing, don't make it an overnight decision. Sit down, look at the data, fucking get on your whiteboard, write pros and cons. Look at, people's businesses of which you want to replicate and people that you're inspired by in the industry. What do they do? Like, why do you want to coach with this type of person, as opposed to just willy-nilly changing your niche? And for me as well, I think sometimes people niche down, and again, controversial, but I think people niche down too much sometimes as well. Like, I work with men who's 36 years old.
I'm glad you've made this point, because I was just about to make it as well. I think you're 100% right. I think you're 100% right. I think people are quick to change the niche. Maybe it's controversial. Maybe some people might not like hearing it, but the reason that is because it's shining a light on what they actually need to change. And sometimes it's the coaching skills. Mm-hmm. Sometimes it's the business knowledge. Sometimes it is your content's dog shit, whatever, right? It could be a number of different things. And it is easy to blame the niche. I do think as well, like I was thinking back to when you were speaking, and I was thinking back to when I started coaching, and we didn't really have a niche at all. We did body transformations for anybody that wanted a body transformation. So I think the difficult thing at the minute is there'll be a lot of online coaches getting into online coaching. Maybe they've come from an in-person background, like a lot of people have. Maybe they're coming straight into online coaching. I never did in-person. Like maybe they're coming straight into online coaching for the right reasons or the wrong reasons. That's not my place to say, right? But there are so many people out there at the minute in this day of Instagram and TikTok and advice everywhere of saying, you need a niche, you need a niche, you need a niche. Yeah. I think us not having a niche and me just getting really fucking good at coaching everybody then gave me the power to figure out who I wanted to work with and who I worked best with. But I only got to that point by coaching everybody and realizing very quickly, I've still got the document, and I show it to people inside the Amplifier all the time, of how I created my quote unquote niche, which was yo-yo dieters over 30, under 50, done. Yo-yo dieters over 30, under 50, done. And the reason that I got to that, and I might get some fire for this, the first thing that I was like, I work with anybody. The first thing that I put in was, I worked with a few menopausal women, and I really struggled. I really struggled. I couldn't connect. It just wasn't for me. So the first thing I put in, it was like, I will work with anybody except menopausal women. However, if we get a menopausal woman that comes and talks to us, we will refer them to, she's still on the list now, a girl called Annie, a friend of mine who's really good at working with menopausal. So it wasn't that I was trying to be a dick and excluding people. I actually settled on what ended up being my quote unquote niche by figuring out who I wasn't very good at working with and what I couldn't do, and almost like lasering in that way. So then it ended up being yo-yo dieters over 30, under 50. It's a bonus if they like things like Slipknot and Carhartt and tattoos, and they've got blue hair and they look a bit like me and a little bit of a weirdo. That's 100%. A bonus.
And I think, like, to touch on it as well, like we talked about, like, for instance, myself working more women and in and around 30, but I want to make it, that's not a niche that I've gone into. Like, it is, but like, it's not like I've gone in my bio, I work with women over, like, it's not a case. Like, my niche is transformation. I get you in great fucking shape. That's what I do. That's my niche. My niche is the result you get, not the person you are. But the words I'm just using in my content are words that are naturally going to attract more of that kind of person.
Yeah, like, doing the filtering,
like, you know, using words like metabolism. It's a buzzword for women not 30 years old. I'm not saying I don't work with this person, or I only work with this person, or I'm a coach and you're only a good fit for me. Like, I personally think people niche way too deep. So for me, my niche is body transformation. But I just use words and messaging that resonate with people who are generally women at 30 plus, because we naturally just find from the data it works well for us. But that doesn't mean that I'm just going, you know, in my bios, I only work with, you know, business owners that do 5 million plus, have 14.7 employees in school. If you're not a part of this, you're not a great fit for us. It's like, you help them get in a result. Like, if your niche, I personally think your niche should be the result you achieve. So like, I'm not going to say I work with people who want to get mobile, strong joints and, you know, be super flexible. Like, that's, I will tell you to go elsewhere. But if you're a 24-year-old lad called Steve, or you're a 58-year-old woman called Jenny, I can transform your body. That's my bread and butter. That's my niche. I'm a body transformation coach. I'll get you in great fucking shape. You don't like that. That's my niche. My niche is my result. And that's how I personally think people should niche, as opposed to like I said, unless it's, if you're in business just because you just want a cool coaching company that you just really enjoy, then you might just want to work with people of a certain caliber. And that's fair enough. If you want a niche because you don't want to physically work with somebody else because you think it's an absolute ball ache, fair enough. If you're in it for the bigger game and you want to make, you know, lasting worldwide impact and you want to grow a big coaching company, in my opinion, the niche should be the result, not the person, in my controversial opinion.
Yeah, no, again, maybe it is controversial, but that's because of the narrative that's being pumped out there at the minute. I don't think that's controversial at all. I think, like I said, I got very good at working on a specific problem. It wasn't body transformation. A lot of my clients did do photo shoots, not like obviously inside out shredded photo shoots, but still it's something that we did. I got good at fixing a problem, and everything stemmed from there. So you mentioned something there about growing. The last kind of stuff I want to talk about is growing a coaching company. So you are definitely at that point now where you are no longer an online coach. You have a coaching company, systems, staff, processes, all that sort of stuff. At what point did you realize that you needed to start? I don't really want to talk about things like lead gen and all that sort of stuff. But in terms of the actual fulfillment coaching, at what point did you realize you were like, right, I need some help now?
I mean, I don't think there was a point where I thought, I'm overwhelmed, I've got too much going on. I think I just had to put my business hat on and go, if I really want to grow this thing, I can't wear too many hats. Like, if I'm trying to split my focus so many times, like, it's almost, it just got to that point where it's like, you know, I can keep doing it all, but I'm pretty naive to think that I'm the best at doing it all. Because if I split my focus too much, everything's going to get 50% attention, as opposed to the things that I think I am best at, that I would rather give 100% to and bring somebody else in who, if I drop my ego, is better than me in said department. So I've brought people in that are better than me at things that because a lot of coaches do have egos. They're in great shape. They look the bollocks. So they've got this ego. I'm the best at every single. No, you're not. Like I at one point I thought I was too, and then I came to the realization there's people that are better than me at certain things. So I just need to take the ego out of it. And if I really want to grow this thing, let me bring in people that can give 100% to this department, so I can give 100% to this department, as opposed to splitting my focus across the two. So I think that was probably the realization for me, as opposed to I've got no time, this is overwhelming. It's things. Let me play chess with this a little bit more and get some better in.
You had quite an interesting setup when, I don't know if he was your first coach, was one of your former clients. Did you not alternate check-ins at one point?
We tried it. Yeah, we tried a co-coaching thing. I've tried fucking everything. So at the time, I tried a co-coaching kind of style where one of my clients who became a coach, he was like the perfect fit for a coaching role we wanted. And if I'm honest, the reason I done it this way, is because I was scared to have clients come on board to work for me and go elsewhere. I was scared. That's why I done it. In hindsight, I don't think I should have done it, because I think that it becomes more of a ball. Like, you might as well just coach them yourself. Like, the time it takes you to communicate between the coach and yourself to alternate check-ins, like, you might as well just done it yourself. Like, you're not saving no time and you're just creating confusion. So in hindsight, it wasn't the best move, but I think the reason I done it was more so because I kind of wanted to have an involvement with the client. And, you learn from your mistakes. I don't think it was the best move for us, but I'm glad I've done it. So, we learned a lesson from it. But
I think it's important that you trialed it. Again, a lot of people, when it gets to the stage of hiring coaches, have almost got this kind of like preconception in the head of what it should be, of how it should be. It's like, you pay more to work with me and you pay less to work with them, and they're your client and them and all that. Or whatever. Yeah, there's enough pitfalls as it is. Like, it's tough. It's confusing. There's not a lot of people that have done it well. But at least you trialed it. At least you stuck your neck on the line and went, do you know what? Let's give this a go. And you got the data to assess, to go, actually, yeah, this is not fucking working.
Yeah, I mean, on that though, like, for those listening, again, I just want to, like, I think it's always good for people to take away tangible advice. If you're ever looking to hire somebody, in my opinion, always hire for attitude, not skill.
Yeah.
Most people that I've hired into my business I'll say my last 5 hires weren't very skillful. But their attitude was outstanding. So I thought, fucking hell, if your attitude's that good, I will make you a killer. I will give you the skill. I just need attitude, because you can't coach, for the most part, you can't fully coach someone's attitude. They've either got a great attitude and they're willing to go into the foxhole with you, or they're not. So that for me was one of the biggest things on that topic. That I think people can maybe, because I think people go, I need to hire the best. It's like, no, hire the best attitude. Teach a skill.
100%. Values-based hiring for me is, these are my values, these are the business values. Do you have these too? Are these important to you? They don't have to be your values. I'm not trying to force them on you, but are these things important to you? Can you display that? Yeah? Cool. I can teach everything else.
100%. Yeah.
I can teach you how to do check-ins, and I can teach you how to set somebody up, and I'll show you the system and all of that stuff. Yeah. But I just need to know that, like you said, we're on the same page, because the way that I talk about values is I use them as almost the compass that I make my decisions by. And I've made some pretty difficult decisions in the past 18 months, because ultimately, at the end of the day, it's what aligned with me. And there are so many people slagging off like alignment and values and stuff. And I'm like, it's just because you don't get it, mate. You just don't understand. Yeah. So what's the setup now then? Because you mentioned like last 5 hires, like this might be bigger than I first realized. Like, I know that obviously Ellie's currently working with you. Absolutely love Ellie to pieces. Big fan of Ellie. It was, I saw Ellie sharing your shit and I didn't even know. I was like, oh, sick. Right. Okay. Yeah. So what's the team look like now?
So we've got myself, we've got 2 coaches, Nelly and Sean, who's like our male program specialist and our female program specialist. They're like, they just coach. So they can take on a very large proportion of clients. And I think a lot of people bring coaches in as almost like a Swiss Army knife to do loads of different things. Like, their coaches are coaches. They don't do sales. They don't do marketing. They don't post on social media unless it's their preference and they like to do it, but they're not required to do anything. You're just here to coach. Like, that's your specialty. So we've got the 2 coaches. We've got 4 people that work within kind of like lead generation, if you will, across primarily Instagram, Facebook. Then we've kind of brought someone in somewhat full time on more of like the media side of things. So to kind of help. So when it comes to paid ads, I like to keep my finger on the pulse and learn and understand it. So I've got somebody who's kind of beside me doing it. We kind of do it together because I think it's important for me to know the skill. So like if I wanted to go in there on a random Tuesday, I understand it. I don't need to be a genius. I just need to understand it. But they cover everything that's creative. They kind of cover the preparation of content and, you know, hooks and topics and scripts and so forth. So it just kind of has, and they also do like a little bit of copyright and stuff as well. So it's just almost like everything that's almost on a media perspective. So it's not a huge team. We've got 4 people in Lead Gen, 2 in coaching, 1 in kind of quote unquote media.
How have you found personally, how have you found like the transition from being an online coach, a one-man band, a Swiss Army knife, like you just said, to now having to release a bit of control, trust people a little bit more, manage things, keep the wheels turning? What's that been like? Because you say it's not a huge team, but it's a pretty big team considering you were one person.
Yeah, of course. I mean, if I'm honest, a bit of a shit answer, but like I've always kind of been in favor of delegation, even from like when I first started online coaching, in like right at the beginning. Like I think it's almost self-awareness. I do think I've had a bit of self-awareness to know, do you know what, this ain't the area I am great at. Let me find someone who's better than me. You know, so I think I have had that degree from quite early on. Letting go of certain areas was difficult just because I like to have control. I think control is important as a business owner, but I think I almost became a bit of a control freak. So I think I almost just had to realign with my 10-year plan, if you will. And a quote that I always come back to is Jeff Bezos don't pick and pack the items in Amazon warehouses. Like, you know, you can't do every role. And sometimes you need to take a step back to propel forwards. It's like almost when you hire people like a closer to your sales, you're going to see a dip at first when they're learning, right? When you're hiring a coach, you might not have the perfect retention right at the beginning. Like you almost need to be prepared. Same with paid ads. You need to learn to lose money to be able to make. Like you need to have the mindset to sometimes, like I almost call it push and pull months. Sometimes in the business, you're going to push. Sometimes you got to pull. Sometimes you might have to just take a small hit for the bigger picture. So I think it's just almost understanding always and realigning the bigger picture. I think coaches get too caught up on their stripe payment that says month to date, as opposed to where they see the company in 3 to 10 years time. So I think I'm always looking, like moves I make today, I'm making for the company in the future, not for what's going to work tomorrow. So I think just anytime I've felt worried about stepping away or thinking, am I giving too much control away here? It's almost like, is this a move that I need to make to get where I need to go in 10 years, not where I need to go tomorrow? If the answer is yes, I need to have the marbles to take the risk.
Yeah, that's what I'm finding now with the Amplifier in my current setup is that I almost need to look at quarter to date, not month to date. And you need to start getting very good at realizing that the money that comes in from this intake, well, that's the next 3 months' money. That's not.
That's not easy. I still get caught up in month to date all the time. But sometimes I almost do need to rein it in and go, Reece, you prick. That's not what you meant to do. Like, you know, stop it. Stop it. It's so easy. Like, I do get it, man. Like, I don't think that's ever going to really leave. But I think instead of getting rid of it, I just think manage it. I think that's a better route to take.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. Right, mate, this has been absolutely sick. Where can people find you? Where can people find more about you? You had a podcast. I don't know if you're still doing the podcast, but podcast, YouTube, social media, everything. Where can people go?
Yeah, so we've got Instagram's probably the easiest place at Reece Hallard, REECE HALLARD. We have the Smart Body Performance podcast as well. And I mean, they're probably the 2 best places you'll be able to hear me waffle on for hours.
Sick. It's something you're very good at, to be fair.
I do like a good fucking natter from time to time.
He loves to talk. Mate, I've really, really enjoyed that. And I think there's a ton of value in it for people, whether they're just starting out or whether they're wanting to build a team. I think there's a load of good value in that. So I really appreciate your time.
No, I appreciate you coming on. I absolutely love the work you do as well, mate. So it's been a pleasure to have a good old chat.
Buzz in. Right, I'll speak to you soon.
What's up, man?